Hey, we're back with part two of this week's new comics, bitches. So, um, let's move on, shall we? Okay, so we have got All Star Western number 6. So we're now into DC and the New 52. This was a pretty strong issue. As far as what's going on. It ultimately, uh, it's kind of the finale of, I guess, the arc with Jonah Hex joining up with Amadeus Arkham and basically going to what will eventually become in 100 years or so the Batcave. And we actually see Alan Wayne. Before, of course, he met the Court of Owls, and the law and Hex's takedown of the this child slavery ring, and of course the solution of the mystery of what exactly happened to the boy that he was hired to find in the first place. And so, I mean, all in all, the book is the book is smart. It's well written. The art in it, for the most part, it's a little it's obviously pretty avant garde, as it has been with Moritat doing the art. Um, it's a little stick figurey sometimes, but not too bad. Um, but it does, sometimes it gets a little bit annoying because it's like, sometimes I just want to see somebody who actually draws a an old west revolver like it actually looked. I know that's very nitpicky, but we have the completion also as far as the B story is concerned of the Barbary Ghost, which is again a terrific tale, more ultimately more interesting than the A story, than the actual primary story that's in All Star Western. Just the character of the Barbary Ghost and her hunt for vengeance, and obviously everything that has to do with all these different characters and so on and so forth. It's just it's incredibly riveting. It was, it's a much shorter read, obviously, but it's a more intense read. So, by virtue of that, we would normally come in as kind of a, maybe a 3.5. I would say that this is definitely, closer to, a 4. This is definitely a very, very solid 4 out of 5 for All Star Western number 6. It's again a really good title. I've been, at least with the Barbary Ghosts, that's really and I'm sad to see that arc is over. Although I am interested in who they're going to bring in next time. But moving along, we've got Aquaman number 6. Again, this is the best work that Jeff Johns is doing in the DC universe right now. I think it's unquestionable. It's basically, it's focusing on Mira. Now, Mira comes to, a little bit, because as we saw in the in the last issue, that at the very end, when Aquaman comes home from being all kind of dried out in the desert and so on and so forth, he finds a note saying that she went to get dog food, and this picks up immediately from where that left off, where basically meets a grocery store manager who is a little bit too handsy for her, and admittedly for anybody. I don't know why this guy hasn't been sued yet, but basically she really, really takes some offense to this guy kind of manhandling her. He's obviously a big perv. Um, but of course, the whole kind of thing turns pear-shaped because it looks like that Mira is, more of the, you know, more of the provocateur than she actually is, where she is actually the victim. And of course, obviously everything's still coming with, people calling her Aquawoman and everything like that, and it's, getting it gets pretty old for her. I still think it's amusing, but it's still funny. But of course, it comes down to her ultimately really, demonstrating her control of water and how she can actually even control it in the human body. Of course, all of these things also tie into how, Mira's first, essentially kind of the origins, the backstory of her character, being that she was originally, an assassin whose duty it was to actually kill Arthur Curry. And I'm glad that she didn't. She's a pretty kick-ass female character. I would almost like to see her own title, or at least an arc where it's just kind of her on her own, as opposed to just one issue. Because I think that she is a very important character. Obviously, she's not a founding member of the Justice League or anything like that, but I think that she has just as much, if not more, to say than someone like Aquaman. So I just think that this is a very well written, the art, Ivan Reis did the breakdowns, Joe Prado did the remainder of the art. So the art's not quite up to snuff as it normally would be, because Ivan Reis just, normally taking this book really over the edge. And so, just a very good read. The art's, it's definitely, above average, but it's not as good as what we've seen from Ivan Reis. So, again, it's a very solid 4 for Aquaman #6, so no problems there. And here we're getting more into, I think, the big books of the week, and ultimately my picks of the week. So, continuing on, marching forward, as they say. Okay, so we've got The Flash, #6. This was a very intense, very dense, and really excellent read overall. Basically, the revenge, if you will, of Captain Cold. Because basically what we're dealing with here, Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato really doing this terrific job of both writing, and of course Manapul's art is fantastic, as is always, and really, just for the one big splash page that's in this particular issue, owes a lot to the like of Will Eisner, and it does jump around in time a little bit. It's basically Barry and and his girlfriend's basically doing this pseudo vacation type of thing with Patty, and of course obviously the fallout of the previous issue, where the more that the Flash uses his power, the more that it actually makes it causes instability in the Speed Force. The Speed Force energy is causing instability in the time-space continuum. So how do you escape from that when that's your power? How do you manage that? But his, one of his scientist friends helps to, kind of, make this a little bit easier for him to kind of work within the parameters of. However, because this new Captain Cold, who no longer has as free as guns, basically his power actually seems to be coming actually out of himself, but the extreme cold is actually slowing down his molecules. And then there's a deeply personal story going on here as well, because both Iris and Patty are in danger, and you've got Captain Cold. You got Len Snart. He is also very much someone not to be trifled with right now, because he believes that it's basically that's what is going on right now in his own life, his own personal story, which is one of tragedy, really, is the Flash's fault. And so he goes after him with a vengeance. And it's a terrific, absolutely excellent issue of the Flash. It's 4.5 out of 5, very solid. Great, really excellent from start to finish. Doesn't quite get up to level 5 because it's a little bit, it hasn't quite reached the point where I can say, this is, it really stands out. It really stands apart from the rest. So, but anyway, moving on. So we're kind of there are kind of 4 picks there are kind of 5, almost 6. They're, like I said, this was not a bad week for comics at all. Everything I read was really good. And this is just continuing this way. And we've got Fantastic Four 603 is one of my big picks of the week. I've got Hickman and Kitson. Of course, Kitson, just doing terrific, beautiful art. But ultimately, what we have here is we have the kind of this war in space between the mad Celestials and the and Galactus. It doesn't get much bigger. More epic than that. And that's that's kind of like the focus of Fantastic Four since number 600. It has been all about, we are going to make this as epic as is fucking possible. But really, since FF number whatever, that led into the reintroduction of the Fantastic Four comic. It's just everything with really everybody using all of their powers to the best of to like their biggest amounts. With the Thing and with Johnny doing the whole supernova thing, with Sue kind of really using her, her powers to her extent, and then we have this, this really kind of awesome moment at the end. It's not a big reveal, not really a big shock, but it's a really awesome moment. So, I gotta say, Hickman, he's hitting, and it's interesting because those of you who have been watching on a relatively regular basis know that I've had a lot to say about the direction that FF is going in right now. Not Fantastic Four, not this comic, but FF. And I've had a lot to say about artist Juan Bobillo and the letters column, actually, within this particular issue, where you finally actually see one. It's been a while since you've really seen a letters column. But there's a lot of people that are pro Juan Bobillo, and it's kind of alternating. Some people saying, I really like him, I think he's a great addition, and some people saying he is just god-awful. I am on the god-awful side. I really, really don't like his artwork at all. But Barry Kitson in this, and then the next issue will actually feature art by Steve Epting. Honestly, whether it's Kitson or Epting doing the art for Fantastic Four, it doesn't matter. Obviously, I prefer Epting, but Kitson is definitely holding his own here. So this was, as an entire issue, this was a very, very solid 4.5 out of 5, inching more towards 5, because it does really set itself apart. So we're going to be back in just a second, so stay tuned, and we're going to go through our picks of the week. Okay, so stay tuned.